Yes, and of course today being International World AIDS Day, we cannot not bring you a stigma warrior. Okay, she is behind the I Am a Beautiful story, which is a digital initiative that, you know, creates awareness about, you know, HIV, and also encourages those who are actually living with HIV like herself. I'm talking about Doreen Mora.
Yes,
Karibu.
welcome.
Asanteni.
Karibu
Yani,
sana.
I'm like, I don't know, I'm just so happy to see you. And for what you stand for, respect.
Yeah.
For, you know, everything you've put in to make sure guys are aware and, you know, not to stigmatize those who are, you know, have been infected and, you know, they are living with it. Big up to you. Respect
so
to you. May God add on to you so many years to shame the haters.
Amen.
Yes.
So maybe a bit of a backstory of where, you know, you knowing that you had AIDS, like what is the story behind it?
So I was basically born with HIV.
Okay.
And I've lived with it for the last 29 years now.
Oh wow.
My parents are what we call a discordant couple, whereby they have two different HIV statuses.
Oh wow.
My mom is positive, my dad is negative. So basically, I am also the only one among my siblings who has HIV. So my parents found out about my HIV status when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And they knew, but they were not ready to disclose to me.
Okay.
So later on, I was told 5 years after my official diagnosis that, Doreen, you have HIV and you're now starting treatment. Now that is when I started ARVs.
Oh wow. So during the 5 years there was no medication, there was nothing like being done.
No, you know, back then there was no treatment.
Oh, yeah,
and ARVs were made available publicly for everyone in Kenya in 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, so we started in 2005.
Okay.
So that time you were around, were you a teenager by then?
I started ARVs when I was 13.
You were 13.
Yeah.
Okay, you just became a teen. And how was life like for you? Because I'm very sure that we have so many children who are living with the condition, and maybe some of them are struggling, some of them have accepted. How was life for you, and what helped you to, you know, get through the seasons, you know, school, friends, and all of that?
So you see, with the stigma back then, my doctor, of course, told me, don't tell anyone you have HIV.
Right.
So I was, okay, fine. You know, the first time I was disclosed to me, it did not sound like a death sentence.
Okay.
It sounded like an opportunity to eat chipo and kuku every time we went to hospital. It sounded like an opportunity to travel, because also because of stigma, we will not go to a nearby facility. And also before that, I was on Septrin. So Septrin is just an antibiotic to keep the opportunistic infections away. But it's a big pill. And you see, for a child, we don't like
taking pills,
no. So for the ARVs, they were a little bit colorful, smaller in size. So I looked forward to starting them. But nobody in school knew that I had HIV. So everybody who used to see me sick from time to time, they would ask, I was told to tell them I have a heart condition. Because nobody will stigmatize you for having a heart condition.
That's true.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
that is how I got through primary school, high school, and even high school, you know, in boarding, people will be like, hey, this medication is big. What is it for? I'm like, it's for a heart condition. Now they would ask, how do you feel? They're telling them, you know, sometimes I feel weak. But none of those symptoms can I relate to, because I couldn't relate to any one of them. I have never had a heart condition. So, yeah.
So you were making stuff up.
It was a survival.
As
Oh
long
my
as it
God.
works.
So
It worked.
Yeah, but I think it's true, because even when I was growing up, we had like one of our family friends, they had a kid and it was HIV, and he used to tell people in school that is, you know, he has a heart condition, because he was like, he was so sick. He used to get so sick for like months and months. And I think it's something that it's okay, because it's those days, you know, but then back in the day. But, you know, after high school, how was life, you know, now getting into the real world and now you having to face life, and, you know, the way we're saying disclosing your medical issues. Now there are places you go to, they're like, we want your medical records and all of that. How has that been like?
That was hard, because you see, before that, now my parents were protective and they will ensure nobody stigmatizes me. But now after high school, now the reality hits you. So it started when I wanted to do mass communication and be a radio presenter. So I approached my uncle after Form 4 and I told him, I want you to assist me in form of career guidance. He told me, forget journalism. So I was like, why? Like, I am qualified enough for that. I was like, no, that is not the issue. People will know about you. They will know you're living with HIV, and they will stigmatize you. So he limited me according to my HIV status. So because I have a scar on my face because of an infection called herpes zoster, so that also limited me, because when I said, okay, now I'm going to do cabin crew. No, I now moved on.
Oh, you moved to something else.
Journalism, I was told you will be known by very many people. We want a place where nobody knows you.
Yeah.
So I moved on to cabin crew. Then the lady just looked at me and told me, I would really love for you to proceed, but I can't, because you will have to go through a interview process, and they will look at your face, they will see the scar,
And they'll ask about it.
and they'll ask about it. So the best I can give you is a ground course. I said, no, I just want to change time zones. So
You are like, next.
next. So now after that, now I did community development, but I did not do the community development because I had HIV. I just settled for what I got.
Yeah.
So later on now, the reality started hitting, that people are looking at me from a HIV perspective, that I can't move on. Probably everything I will touch will be like, but you have HIV, so you have to be limited. So I started now being in I had self-stigma.
Okay.
Let me put it like that. And so I looked at HIV as a barrier. I did not like myself as a person living with HIV. And the universe was also speaking to me, because then I saw Babu Loliondo on TV. And I said, this is my chance to become HIV free. So I convinced my mom. We went all the way to Loliondo. We drank the Loliondo cup, the very infamous cup. And we came back. And I assumed that I am now HIV negative and I will be HIV free. But that was not the case, because Loliondo was a scam. Let me just put it like that. Loliondo was a scam. So when we came back, I stopped taking my ARVs for 2 years, because I just wanted to feel HIV negative. You know, I have never been HIV negative, so I don't know how it feels. And I think at that point in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm negative, I'm good. But I was not, because the opportunistic infections started coming up again. So there's a test called viral load test. It tests the amount of virus in your body or in your blood. So when I did that test, my viral load test was at 70,000 copies.
Which is that good or bad?
That is extremely bad.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
how many are you supposed to have normally?
0.
Oh, wow.
You at 70,000.
You are 70.
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
Oh, my God.
So the doctors were even now started calling each other and asking each other, what is happening to this patient?
Yeah.
And I told them, I also don't know, Ebu, just tell me what is happening, because I take my treatment, but I know very well that I've not been on treatment, and I know that I stopped my treatment way
while
back,
ago, yeah.
and they were like, no, we have to do something. Is the treatment failing? Because now, you know, something has to be blamed. And they told me, maybe you're messing up with the time and all that. But I was just not ready to accept myself. And one time I disclosed to somebody who was hitting on me. And when I disclosed, he said, I know you don't have HIV. So I told him I really do have HIV. But I was not disclosing because I wanted him to know. I was disclosing because I wanted the pity. You know, when you're going through self-stigma, the pity part is very interesting to you as a person, because you feel like, I need somebody to woye me.
Yeah.
So I told him I have HIV, and he's like, no, I don't believe you. And he told me, maybe let's get tested. So we got tested. And of course, it's that point where you tell the doctor, we don't need counseling, we just need the test. So we were tested. And of course, that time, I was not even on treatment. So it came out positive. He left me some place to Kongong Road, but yeah. So those are the realities that hit me, that people will never look at people living with HIV as the human and not the virus.
Okay, so how did you go from self-stigma to being a stigma warrior? Was it like one day you just woke up and turned things around, or did it happen slowly?
Actually, it happened not really slowly, but it just happened. So I was doing my internship at the Teacher Service Commission, and then we went to test some students. So when we were testing them, they refused to come get tested. So you go to their classes, you tell them, hey, we are running a HIV testing campaign, we want you to join, it's free. And they're like, I've not done anything, I'm good. I know my status. So you tell them, when was the last time you tested? I have never tested, but I know I am negative. So with this mentality, it showed that Kenya does not really, most Kenyans don't have the heart, or rather the willingness to test themselves for HIV. So my boss challenged me, and she was like, why don't you just come out and tell people you have HIV, and they will accept, they will probably see the human aspect of HIV. And after doing that, maybe it will coerce them, or rather it will convince them to come get tested. So, you know, I'm coming from a place where I was told never tell anyone you have HIV, to a place where she is telling me to tell people who don't know me that I have HIV. So I told her, that is a good idea, we can work on that, because she's my boss. So I cannot just tell her no to her face. So with the time, I think I wrote to an editor, of one of the local dailies. And I told her my story. Like, it's that form where you are opening up to somebody who does not know you. It's like those anonymous things, you know. So now when I reached home, in my mind, I was like, she is not going to respond to this email. Then I reach home, and then she has responded back. And she's like, hi, Doreen, I really love your story. Come to studio, let's do an interview. And I'm like, okay, what have I done? This was not what I was prepared for. So now I had to call my mom and tell her, by the way, I kind of sent an email to somebody, and now she wants us to do it, and it's going to be public. So I was even more relieved when she told me that the story will not air on the print media, it will be online. And that time online media was not the way it is right now, because it was back in 2015. So I said, that one nobody's going to read it. Then I left my email. Now the emails I received that day are actually the reason why I decided to live publicly with HIV. There were so many people living with HIV in secrecy, and somebody is telling you the only person who knows is me and my doctor. And then you say, you know, this is a lifelong health condition. How are you living with it silently? Some of them are women who were diagnosed during pregnancy. And you know, when you're diagnosed during pregnancy, it's like you're just told, hey, you're positive. You now have to start taking ARVs. You now have to ensure that you're undetectable so that you protect the child. So it's all this information jumbled up on you, and you have to accept it all at once. And you know, it does not work like that for the human mind. So I looked at all these stories, but the one that stood out for me was one man who was taking ARVs from the boot of his car for 5 years. So he would come home every evening, sit in his parking, say he has already removed the medication on his way from work. He takes it, comes back home, and now that time we used to take medication that was used to like give you fatigue. So he's tired, so he goes straight to bed, tells them, wake me up when food is ready. So I asked myself, how do you live like that? As in the practicality of it. So what happens on this day you have forgotten to buy water? It means that day you're not taking treatment. And it showed that if I give a human face to this virus that a lot of people think that this journey, I'm the only person living through it, then maybe other people will draw that inspiration from me. So that it does not go from, I have to do this on my own, to, I know at least out of the 1.5 million Kenyans living with HIV, I know Doreen.
Oh,
That's
wow.
very true.
I think what you're doing is like very beautiful, and I'm sure the feedback you guys have, we will not be able to get through all of it. But unfortunately, our time together is over. So maybe your social media handles before we leave.
So I am on social media, and I do social media advocacy, where my Facebook name is Doreen Mora Moracha. Instagram, Doreen_Mora_Moracha. Twitter, _D_Mora. YouTube, Doreen Mora Moracha.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And for
keep up the
sharing
good
as
fight.
well.
Yeah,
Keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
Yes, but anyway, guys, we need to take a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.